Well, thanks again for joining us on our 40-day journey through the book of Mark. We are up to day 30. That's right. We are 75% of the way through this book. And I'm excited again because not only have we been reading about Jesus and being reminded of all that he said and all that he did, but now we find ourselves in the final week leading up to the cross and ultimately the resurrection. And so we're seeing again, Jesus is not afraid of what's happening and he is not surprised by what is going to happen. He knows and he is ready and willing to obey the Father even up to the very end. And so today we begin Mark chapter 12 and we're going to start in verse 1. Then Jesus began teaching them with stories. A man planted a vineyard. He built a wall around it, dug a pit for pressing out the grape juice, and built a lookout tower. Then he leased the vineyard to tenant farmers and moved to another country. At the time of the grape harvest, he sent one of his servants to collect his share of the crop. But the farmers grabbed the servant, beat him up, and sent him back empty handed. The owner then sent another servant, but they insulted him and beat him over the head. The next servant he sent was killed. Others he sent were either beaten or killed until there was only one left, his son, whom he loved dearly. The owner finally sent him, thinking, surely they will respect my son. But the tenant farmers said to one another, here comes the heir to this estate. Let's kill him and get the estate for ourselves. So they grabbed him and murdered him and threw his body out of the vineyard. What do you suppose the owner of the vineyard will do? Jesus asked. I'll tell you. He will come and kill those farmers and lease the vineyard to others. Didn't you ever read this in the scriptures? The stone that the builders rejected has now become the cornerstone. This is the Lord's doing, and it is wonderful to see. The religious leaders wanted to arrest Jesus because they realized he was telling the story against them. They were the wicked farmers, but they were afraid of the crowd, so they left him and went away. Later, the leaders sent some Pharisees and supporters of Herod to trap Jesus into saying something for which he could be arrested. Teacher, they said, we know how honest you are. You are impartial and don't play favorites. You teach the way of God truthfully. Now tell us, is it right to pay taxes to Caesar or not? Should we pay them or shouldn't we? Jesus saw through their hypocrisy and said, why are you trying to trap me? Show me a Roman coin and I'll tell you. When they handed it to him, he asked, whose picture and title are stamped on it? Caesar's, they replied. Well then, Jesus said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God. His reply completely amazed them. So once again, after reading from the book of Mark, we've been going back through and looking at some of the highlights so we can better understand what is happening and how we can apply them to our lives. In the story of the wicked tenants, Jesus tells us a parable about judgment and mercy, grace and wrath, and yes, Christmas and Easter. The meaning of the story is very obvious. God sent his son, and we killed him. Here are some of the highlights that we see here. The man who plants the vineyard, that is God. The vineyard is Israel. The tenants who beat up the servants of the owner are the religious leaders. The servants are the faithful prophets that have served the Lord throughout the history of Israel. And then, of course, finally, the one beloved Son, that is Jesus. Instead of honoring the agreement they made with the landowner, the tenant farmers mistreat and abuse the representatives of the owner. Some of these representatives and faithful servants of the owner are beaten, and some are killed. This parable, of course, shows the remarkable patience of God with humanity. It also testifies to the amazing grace that God has toward rebellious sinners who do not seek after him and have literally no fear of God. Again, these people represent the religious leaders, but truthfully, it represents all of us as humanity. Perhaps the people think that the landowner is dead, and they say to themselves, if we kill the son, then we'll be able to have the inheritance. We'll be able to control the land. We'll be able to call all the shots. We will be in charge. And so they do exactly that. They take the son of the owner and they kill him. And a few days later, this parable that Jesus is telling to this group of people will become reality as the religious leaders take the Son of God and literally have him crucified. To reject the Son is to reject the one who sent him. And the religious leaders, they end up condemning themselves because they know who they are in the story, and yet they don't repent. They don't turn and go a different way. They are willing to stay on in their hatred and in their willingness to look for a way to take down the Son of God. Here we see again that the cornerstone that has been rejected would become a symbol for the Messiah. God takes what man rejects and makes it the cornerstone, the most important part of the whole structure. The cornerstone is the one who holds all things together. The religious leaders know the parable is about them, and yet they don't change their heart. They continue to move forward with their desire to take Jesus out. They refuse to submit to his authority, and they refuse to submit to his lordship. The question of honoring Caesar by paying taxes is a trap. So here we see some religious leaders and some Herodians. So these two groups of people who are literally on opposite sides of the aisle and how they view pretty much everything in the world, well, they're united in their willingness to take down Jesus. They unite together to simply ask Jesus this question: should we honor Caesar by paying taxes? The Jewish people despise Rome. So if Jesus says yes, then most likely they would turn against him. On the other hand, if Jesus advised not to pay the taxes, the Romans could arrest and kill him for insurrection. This group of people thought they had Jesus trapped. But Jesus simply says, show me who's on the coin. And here's what he says: we pay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. And since you and I are made in the image of God, we give to God what is rightly his. And literally, this means our entire life, that we are to give to God as an act of worship to him. With one answer, Jesus puts Caesar in the right place and puts God where he rightly belongs in our lives. And the people are amazed at his answer. Not only did the trap fail, but the people are amazed at the answer that Jesus gives. Who is this person? He speaks with such authority and he speaks with such wisdom. And literally, we see again, because of Jesus being the Son of God, he is able to not only teach, but to lead us in a way that we cannot teach or lead ourselves. Where else are we going to go to find the words that lead to life except for the person of Jesus Christ? Well, I encourage you to keep back with us as we continue our journey toward the cross and through the book of Mark. Thank you again for joining us. I can't wait to see you again soon. Have a good one. Bye bye.